Welcome to the heart of racing. Neil Breen and Will Freedman with you ahead of the Inglis Millenium. Yes, it's the good oil ahead of that big race day at Royal Randwick tomorrow. Will, I want to ask you a question to start off.
Right.
The Inglis Classic sales on.
Yes.
Inglis spent a fortune building their stables out at Warwick Farm.
Yeah.
Why aren't these races at Warwick Farm?
Well,
so I
it
can go
was.
to the races and go look at the horses.
Well, it was.
Well, why isn't it there?
Because people don't like going to the races at Warwick Farm. Have you
But they've
been
got the
to it?
sales complex there.
But no one likes going there either.
They should have just stayed the sales
it's-
complex over at Randwick
I
near the
know.
hospital.
It was the best with the big oak tree. I don't think more deals got done than they did under that oak tree.
Under the oak tree,
But to
yeah.
be fair, the setup Inglis have made up there is very good at looking at horses and being there. It's just not in the middle of town, and people love going racing at Randwick.
I think it's one of the issues about why racing in New South Wales and the ATC's looking at the sale of Rose Hill is to try and spruce up Warwick Farm. But as you say, I know a lot of people live out that way, but people prefer to go to Randwick.
But what if you go to the races, you have a couple of drinks, get a little bit, drink responsibly.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
What are you doing? You're getting on the train and you've got to go back to Parramatta, get the train from Parramatta back into the city. By the time you get into the city, you want to go home. So
No, get an Uber to Bankstown Golf Club. Have you been there?
yeah, good course.
Where they
actually.
got that beautiful low-set clubhouse which sprawls out onto the lawn with the chipping and putting greens. And
Are you an ambassador there?
no, I just reckon it's a good joint.
It is. No, it's a good course too. But no, I like $1 million racing at Randwick, to be honest. I think headquarters should be where these big races are run. It's the fairest track. You get the biggest fields. Like Warwick Farm, like the fence can play off. I just don't think they've got Warwick Farm into a point where you can run these big races. I mean, Richard and Michael won with Prime Star at Warwick Farm.
At Warwick Farm, I remember.
In a heavy 11, like it was, I don't know. I'm all for it. It's not Racing New South Wales' fault that the setup at Inglis is at Warwick Farm.
I know. It's all
turnover.
commercial deals
Yeah.
and everything.
And it's good racing this weekend.
Mate, there's
real
fantastic racing. We'll get into it soon. Firstly, a quick look back at last week. Will Freedman, have you got a pineapple for a shocking ride from last weekend?
I found one, and it reminded me of you as I watched it. And
what have I got to do with it?
Well, you'll find out. But poor old Jet Stanley. Look, he's been in good form over the
yeah, that's
summer
your
months.
caveat. Yeah, now slaughter him.
But
Come on.
he didn't ride one out. He got unlucky. He was in behind them. He rode for luck. He didn't get luck, but he got out with about 50 metres to go, and he just got nabbed for third. And he didn't.
Is this
ride
the one
it
he
to
got
line.
suspended for?
Yeah, he got a week for it, so he'll be.
That was it. That was in the highway when
He might be out at Warwick Farm looking at horses. Who knows on Saturday because he'll have nothing better to do.
Okay, so he's been suspended. That was in the highway. There was
No. It was the
highway.
the highway. The
and
second
there was
race.
a wall of horses for
Yeah,
second.
it couldn't go anywhere. It was the ride itself wasn't bad. It was just the last 30 minutes. You got as a punter, there's nothing more infuriating when you don't get your money back for coming third.
Because he dropped his
because he
hands
dropped
and ran
his hand and
fourth.
something on the outside came and beat him. You just can't do it. It is a rule of racing to ride your mount up to the line unless you fear injury. I don't think Jet Stanley could come back in and say, I thought it was a bit sore because it was powering through the line.
Okay, so we'll give him the pineapple. It's a soft pineapple, though. He won't be winning for the year. That won't be the shocking ride of the year.
I doubt it, but it's not good. It's not good. You
Okay.
ride your mounts out to the line, young man.
You got to ride them out. Okay, the Sayonara, something we're saying goodbye to, a horse we're saying goodbye to. Last week, you said Coleman because you were talking with your heart.
He got
here.
very lucky.
No, listen, you were talking with your heart, not your head, because Coleman was a 2-year-old that had won its first race start. You were the underbidder on this horse, and you missed out on it. It was a $500,000.
I've lost a bit
yearly.
of weight over the holidays, so my weight pulling on its tail was clearly not as much as I thought it would be.
It belted them in that 2-year-old race at Caulfield. It's now one of the favourites.
It smashed them.
I think I sent you a text at the 200.
I didn't watch the race.
No,
but
everyone should know.
But I got your message, and
Yeah.
I went, shit.
I know. I sent you a text. They hadn't even finished when I was compiling that text, and you didn't respond.
Don't worry. We had a group of owners wanting to buy Coleman at the sales, and Richard was bidding for them, and they went to 500, which is a lot for a first season sire.
$500,000. What was the sire?
Piarata.
Piarata,
First season.
yeah.
It was the highest, equal highest Piarata sold. And Richard went 500. And I went, what are you doing? Someone better outbid us here, Richard, because we've still got to syndicate X amount of this horse. And then someone bid and I went, oh, all good. We dodged a
We
bullet
missed it.
then.
Now it's one of the
And
favourites.
now he's worth, $4 or $5 million, and Richard is doing his best to remind me of that every single day.
Okay. I am going way out on a limb with my Sayonara.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time, and maybe I'm talking with my heart, not my head, because I just want weight for age racing back to where it was. I just want a great crop of new horses coming through. I'm saying Sayonara to Mr. Brightside. It's an odds-on favourite in the CF4 Stakes tomorrow. Okay, it's had 6 first-up starts for 2 wins, but at $1.85, a smallish field, I'm not going to tell you what I think will win. I'm going to use that in time to unload later in the show.
I thought you'd just say, I think they all might beat him, because that's what we're really playing lay of the day. Okay, well, I think you're mad because I think he's definitely the class horse of the race. I thought his trials have been pretty good, but,
I'm just going out on the limb.
Vulnerable first up, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think it'll win. But I'm going a bit more conservative this week. I'm still picking a favourite not to win.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say Fully Lit in the Millennium, jumping from, barrier 17.
Ooh,
I understand he's got speed and he'll go forward, but from 17, that's a lot of horses to cross. He could get camped 3 or 4 wide or have run his race before the 400. So I think it's a conservative bet because I reckon that Millennium throws up a weird result every year.
Okay.
So,
we'll get into that race soon. So you're going to pot Fully Lit. That's fair enough. Should we look at the So Simple? Last week, the So Simple was that Gain Adrian Bott, Storm Boy, all those 2-year-olds, they just turn up with 2-year-olds, and we should have just been backing them all summer. That was the So Simple. Well, the So Simple this week is Gain Adrian again, because last Saturday they had both the 2-year-old winners, Prost in the Cannonbury, Lady of Camelot and the Widden. I backed them both.
Did you back them both?
I just went bang, bang. I know they were short and everything, but I just backed them both.
I did give Prost a push, but they're airborne. But look, this is
It's the way they train them. They train them to stay out of trouble, to go to the front, and out of their 150 yearlings they buy every year, the ones they're sending to the races are the ones that can cope with their training techniques.
I had a friend of mine tell me, so they haven't had as good a 2-year-old year, obviously, that they have this year. What happens is when you haven't got a huge amount of 3-year-olds, you put all your energy into your 2-year-olds. It's going to be an interesting.
So last year they didn't have a great 2-year-old year.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a bad 2-year-old.
So you're saying the stables put all of its energy into its 2-year-olds,
and they've done a really good job. But then all these good 2-year-olds become 3-year-olds, right? And you got to put all your energy, so a lot of your energy, into the 3-year-olds.
Yeah. So
it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain this strike rate next year when they've got to divide a bit more of their thinking time to the 3-year-old crop now. So
this crop coming
it'll be
through
interesting.
And the new crop.
But remember, Gain Adrian, yes, they teach them to go forward, but Gay has been one of the great educators of young horses. It's little things like they all go to the race day tie-ups every morning and they stand there and they've got to get used to that. They go around the bull ring at Randwick, which is a smaller circle, which is a long way away from the stables. They've got to walk there. It's very small details make a big difference in racehorses. So Gay's been an expert in teaching her horses to be able to cope with everything. So they don't get overawed by the occasion. And that's what people fail to understand. It's like a lot of people think in the barriers, the horses that are pent up with energies are the ones that fly out. It's actually the ones that stand there really relaxed, ready to react, because the ones that go out slowly are the ones that their mind's not on the job. So it's a 2-year-old, having 2-year-olds at that level and having so many of them is a testament to Gain Adrian and what their system is. So kudos, but it'll be interesting to see if they can back it up next year.
Okay, so talking about 2-year-old racing, that's our Gates Fly this week, our issue of the week. And we're going to talk about 2-year-old racing because around Australia, now not tomorrow, you've got the Inglis Millennium, which is worth $2 million for horses that were sold at Inglis sales last year. And so it's a full field of 16. And we've got Blue Diamond Preludes on in Melbourne. Okay, there's only 10 in the Colts and Geldings division. There is a full field of 16 in the fillies division. I know last week in Brisbane, there were 4 nominations initially for the 2-year-old race in Brisbane. Then a lot of other nominations came in when they extended them because trainers go, oh, there's nothing in the race. I'll throw my horse in. There's been small fields in Victoria in 2-year-old races. There's been some small fields in New South Wales as well. Why, Will?
So I boil it down to 2 reasons. Mick Kent Senior had a really good chat about this not that long ago, and he was going on about the breed, and I can understand the breed being a part of the problem.
So what was the point about the breed, that we weren't breeding enough 2-year-olds? I thought that's all we bred.
Yeah, but the breed has been like these horses are so well prepared for the sales. Like you go to the sales like you'll go to it at the classic sale that's on now. And these breeders are fantastic horse trainers. Like they have their horses looking like they're ready to go to the races on sale day. So they've had this really long prep to be able to look that well.
They get taught to walk. They get taught to handle all these things.
They're incredible trainers, these breeders. They're not.
It's like going into a Mercedes-Benz dealership.
Right.
There isn't a spot of dust on one car.
That's right. But it takes a lot of work to get them there. So they need downtime after the sales. So a lot of them have a huge prep to muscle up, and then they're not ready for another prep as early as they were when. So that's one element of it. I'm not a massive, like, that's not my main gripe with why we don't have as much 2-year-olds.
Because breeders are entitled to present their horse as best they can.
It's their grand final. That's their job, to get them there and sell them as well as they can. And the market has dictated that that's what they want. So fair play. But I think what's happened is, one, the big stables are just getting so big. Their numbers are so big. They're getting 100 to 200.
You're talking the mega stables.
The mega stables.
So we're talking
Ciaron
Maher,
Chris Waller,
Gay Waterhouse and Bott.
Yeah.
The Hazes are at the next level, I suppose.
There's probably about 3 or 4 others that are on big scales, much bigger than when the Freedman brothers were training at the top of the game. They might have had 120 in work. A lot of these trainers have 200, some up closer to 500 in work. So it's huge differences.
They're massive. They're huge businesses.
Yeah, and that's nothing. This is not to chastise the people that have done it. That's their business, and good for you.
And people want to put horses with them because they see the winners on Saturday.
That's fine. But the problem is, it ends up becoming a cookie-cutting system where they go through the same system, and if your horse goes through that system well, you become a good 2-year-old.
Let's just, before you go on, let's just put everyone in the picture here so they can fully understand what we're dealing with. Those big trainers, Ma, who's on his own now because Dave Eustace has gone to Hong Kong, Waterhouse, Waller, those big stables. Waller's a bit different. He doesn't love getting the 2-year-olds up and running, but they are buying. How many yearlings are they buying across? Because there's Karaka, there's Magic Millions, there's Inglis Classic, Inglis Premier, there's Inglis Easter, there's Adelaide Magic Millions, and then all the others fall away after that. Are they buying 150?
I think they'd be buying close to 100. That's a hard question to answer.
Because some people are buying horses to give to them.
Yeah. Others, and you don't know. Sometimes they're not bought in their name, but I would say.
But Ciaron Maher can nominate 130 horses for the Slipper.
That's right. So he's got to be buying at least 80 plus, and then being given another 70 on top of that.
So he could have 150 yearlings in his system.
Usually looking at the Golden Slipper nominations is a good indicator. There's usually about 70% of your yearling crop get nominated for the Golden Slipper, and I'm fairly sure Annabelle's on that range. She's right up there.
Yeah.
Ciaron, Annabelle, Chris doesn't nominate as many, not a great guy, but Gay and Adrian, they're at times nominating 100 to 130. So you'd think
that's how many yearlings they've got.
You'd thinking there's another 20 to 30%.
So you've got that many yearlings.
Yeah.
So they're dominating the yearling racing, but with way less than 130. And what's happening?
So what happens is they get a guide on which of their elite 2-year-olds.
And which ones are up and ready to go early.
And they have good markers because they've got so many 2-year-olds. They know their best 2-year-old is going to be a very good 2-year-old. So if they have 5 that can keep up with what they think is their best 2-year-old, that'll be their 2-year-old crop. And if some don't, then in jump outs at home, then they go, oh, don't worry about it.
They'll put it away and wait for it to mature or whatever.
Yeah, because in this day and age, people aren't as patient with bad results. Go back 15 years ago, people would be okay with a horse running in the second half of the field for education. Nowadays, the ownership mentality is, I don't want any disappointment. I want it all to be happy experiences, right? So a lot of people aren't running horses because they're afraid that the owners will get disenchanted because they're not running well right at the beginning of their career. So that's one part of it. And then the other part is stables don't want to put too many against one another. I know they still do. Chris still puts horses against one another, but ideally you don't.
So Gay's got 6 ripping 2-year-olds. She's not putting all 6 in the one Saturday race.
No, why would you?
So that reduces the field size because she's putting one there, then one the next Saturday. She'll send one to Camblanc.
Yeah, and then the other part of the problem is that racing. I'll speak for Racing New South Wales. I'm not speaking for the rest of the country, but in Racing New South Wales, we aren't committed to 2-year-old racing because there's only 2-year-old races in the metropolitan area. If you have a horse that's educated and could race, but isn't up to metropolitan grade, you don't want to expose them and get their heart broken against a horse that's going to go in the slipper.
Yeah, you don't want to put it out there against Storm Boy.
So you're right. So there's virtually no 2-year-old racing at the provincials. There's virtually no 2-year-old race. Oh, there's a little bit, but not much 2-year-old racing at the country. So what happens is that the country, that all the city...
It picks up later in the season.
Yeah, it does.
But early.
All the city horses go to those country maidens because they don't want to go up against...
And they knock them over.
So then the country trainers don't want to go up against the city 2-year-olds. So it's become this vicious circle or cycle of people not wanting to run 2-year-olds because they're afraid of them being exposed against good horses. So I personally think Racing New South Wales needs to commit to having a lot more 2-year-old racing. And yes, the field sizes will be down until trainers understand that there are weak 2-year-old races that you can win.
Yeah.
So it's a bit the big stables getting bigger and the smaller stables fearing going up against the big stables. And then also the fact that there's not enough options for 2-year-olds to avoid the Golden Slipper winner.
Like I also think, look, I believe this is a problem too. And what was the average price at the Magic Millions? 270 grand. That's an average price over 900 horses.
Yeah.
The average price. So I kind of think about accessible racing is about syndication of horses. And I'm not talking about professional syndicators who do a great job. I'm just talking about a bunch of mates.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about, hey, Will, when you go to the sales, if you see something that might go for 50, me and a bunch of mates, I reckon I could probably get 70% of that horse done.
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
they're hard to find.
From your perspective, right?
Yeah.
If I say, hey, Breeny, do you want to buy a horse at the Magic Millions? You say, yeah, I've got about 50 to 100 to spend, like, with my mates. To take a portion of a horse, right?
Yeah. So there's 15 of us. We reckon at 5,000 a pop, we could come up with 75.
Right. So then I say to you, that's all good, Breeny. We'll try and find one. And then you look at the sale and you go, hold on a sec. That's the bottom 5% of this sale. How does it make you feel when you've got to compete with horses that are getting sold for 500,000 and
we've bought something for because
1/8 of the price.
75,000 only gets you a $60,000 horse because there's GST, that's 66.
Race series on top.
The race series for Magic Millions is $6,000 on top, so we're up to 72. Insurance takes me to 75. I've got to send it to an adjustment place, which is
so
$1,200 a month. It costs me $1,000 to send it there. Plus, on top of that, I got to pay the breaker, and that's going to cost me $5,000. I'm up to 85.
Hey, just cool it a bit. This is my business you're talking about.
I know, but what I'm trying to, I want to help your business, and I want to go to the Inglis Classic sale.
Yeah,
and I truly think, Will, I've got enough people at the moment. I could fill half a horse. Yeah. I used to be able to fill a whole horse, but I can't fill a whole horse anymore.
The other problem is that we've gotten to a stage where the stallion prices to buy a stallion off the track is so incredibly high. Like, they're talking of $50 million valuation for Storm Boy.
Well, they've already paid 25.
So it's a bit like...
And then it escalates. It jackpots if he wins the Golden Slipper. And that it'll be... If he wins the Golden Slipper and then he won the Coolmore in the spring, He's worth 60.
Right, and I get that the breeders need to get out of their investment. But at the moment, that's meaning that the stallion prices for a service fee are so high.
Nearly $100,000 first season.
These guys are needing to make 200,000 to get out of what they put into this horse, let alone making a profit on it. So what's actually happening is we're just cycling up. It needs a circuit breaker, because unless the price of stallions
That's the
come
phrase
down,
I was looking for. We need a circuit breaker.
So
average people can get back in. It's like house prices.
That's right. But it's exactly the same as house prices. It's like, we need a circuit breaker, but how the bloody hell are we going to do it? I'm a bit concerned for the industry that, okay, we're at micro shares now for people to get in.
Yeah.
Which is an experience, and it's doing really well. They're doing a really good job.
People are buying 1/1000th of a horse.
Right.
1/2000th.
Right. But for the experience. But once they've had that experience, then where do we go? Because there's going to be, it's getting a lot more like Europe, where it's going to be only the mega rich playing against one another, when the charm of Australian racing was that anyone could have a Melbourne Cup runner.
And so at the moment, at the level that I'm talking about, bunch of middle-class people, battling with the school fees, trying to sort out the mortgage. Grandma's getting a bit old, got to look after her. Grocery prices are going up, but I want to have a horse. I'm staring down the barrel of my horse being a provincial or a country horse.
And that's where a lot of them are playing now, which is fine. There's still good money to be made in the country and provincial, but the allure of racing is to try and win the jackpot. You don't gamble to win 50 cents or 50 cents on the dollar. You gamble to win 100 times your dollar, So it's a problem, but it's something that I thought the economic climate was going to
settle things down.
It didn't.
But it hasn't. Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll just beat the market, Will, you and I. We'll go to the classic sale and we'll pick something up. And this time next year, we'll be sitting in this room going, we've got the favourite in the English Millenium, and we bought it for 50.
We should call the horse So Simple. It's so simple. And we'll come back. The ultimate So Simple.
We could. That was the name of my dad's horse in the 1970s. Used to race in the middle.
Should be available again then, the name.
Sostenuto he was by. He was a shocking barrier rogue. They all were, the Sostenutos. Okay, this week's big ones. Let's go to Royal Randwick. The English Millenium. Gay and Adrian have fully lit. It's the favourite. You've already potted it.
Yeah.
Barrier 17, $3.20 favourite. The barrier is a big problem.
Look, you can win from wide barriers at the 1,100 metre shoot at Warwick Farm. It's quite possible. So it fully lit can sit wide, but I fear it's going to do too much trying to get across. Like, wide is okay when you're 3 deep. 4 and 5 deep is too wide for young horses. So I'm going against fully lit here. I think Beer Baron is well over the odds. I think Beer Baron's run in the Inglis nursery was very good.
$23 Beer Baron.
Yeah, I thought
Neil Osborne.
I know, but I thought it was way overs. I thought it was way overs.
Tommy Berry on top
for a Breenie. For a Breenie,
a place.
And I think Rue de Royale is well placed. I think if I'm going to put one on top, I'm putting Rue de Royale. And Chad Schofield is going for his 3rd consecutive English Millenium.
And he's on.
He won the last 2.
Rue de Royale from McAvoy Stable. The thing about this Millenium is it could throw up a winner. It can throw up a roughie, something
from
it's a
anywhere.
lottery. The form's hard to.
Rag Queen's is a long way overs as well. Did you watch its win at Canterbury? Like, David Payne's been a very good trainer for a long time, but he's not a renowned 2-year-old trainer.
Yeah.
And this thing came from last at Canterbury.
Rag Queen.
And just went straight over the top. It's a D'Argento. It's not bred to be a 2-year-old, but man, it's something.
Okay,
at
Rag Queen.
$19.
That's what we're back. We're back at the place. Oh, where are we going next? Oh, the Eskimo Prince.
Great race.
It's for 3-year-olds. It's Group 3 over 1,200 metres, and you'll see a lot of the 3-year-olds starting their campaign for the autumn here.
Look at the market. Like, you're going, it's $4.80 or $5 the field, and the longest price is $7.50.
There's 7 horses in it. The favourite at $4.80 is Cabalas, and the outsider is Celestial Legend at $7.50. That's extraordinary.
It's a proper race. I think I'll label the ones I'm not that keen on first, right?
Okay.
I think that I'm not keen on Macarena. I've seen a lot of people keen on it.
Yeah.
I don't think
It's first up for the Hawks
I
stable,
didn't think its
$7.
first trial was that impressive.
Okay.
Tom Kitten is a class horse, but this will be too short.
1,200 metres, small
1,200.
field.
And I think there are some with a bit more speed. I think Cabalis was in a very winnable race last time, did it well. I think it's under the odds.
At $4.80 favourite, Bjorn Baker.
I think Griff is one that I really want to keep an eye on.
Ciaron Maher.
4 straight after a spell.
What about NCAP, Gary Portelli?
Yeah, don't mind NCAP. Gary can get them ready first up as well. Look,
good race.
I think Moravia is a class horse as well. I thought its runs last prep were very good.
Okay, Moravia for your Uncle Michael. Yeah, it's a good race. Let's head to Caulfield. We've got Blue Diamond
We
Preludes.
should talk about one we will. Who are we going to go with in that race though? I just don't know. Griff. I'm going Griff. Ben Mellams has travelled up to partner with this horse on Saturday.
Okay, so Ciaron Maher's brought him up to Randwick to ride. I'm going to go for NCAP.
Okay.
But if Tom Kitten wins, it's your fault because you just potted it. Okay. Blue Diamond Preludes over 1,100 metres at Caulfield. There's a Colts and Geldings division, a Fillies division. Colts and Geldings, high octane for the Snowdens at $2.60. The Snowdens also have Bodyguard, $3. It's back from a spell. It won the Maribyrnong trial back in October. The Snowdens out of Sydney are unbelievably good at sending 2-year-olds to Melbourne.
100% there. I think High Octane's a very good horse. And I think Bodyguard's a very good horse as well. I lean towards High Octane at Caulfield from barrier 1 rather than barrier 9 of Bodyguard. I think the Colts and Geldings division, I think they're just Colts. But the Colts division is marketably stronger than the Fillies. Like if you're going to have a winner of the Blue Diamond,
it does look like a Colts year in 2-year-old racing.
Yeah, agree. It is, and I don't know. Usually, you actually find the Fillies starts coming through the ranks now, but I'm blown away with the quality of the Colts.
Okay, so we think the Snowdens might have that one between them, High Octane and Bodyguard.
And I'd just keep an eye on that cardiologist. I mean, it
hasn't started.
It hasn't had a start. But mind you, most of them have only had one start. It's an inexperienced race. Good
cardiologist.
Draw.
How did they get that name? It's by Exceed and Excel out of Heart of the Oak.
There you go.
There you go. The word heart's in there, so it's come up with cardiologist. Now, let's look at the Fillies. Hayes, they have the favourite, Bold Bastille, at $2.40. It won impressively at its only start back in October at Moonee Valley by 3 lengths. It's by Brazen Bow. I looked through the field. It was a $2.40 favourite from barrier 10. After that, Will, I gave up. It's a lottery.
I tell you one horse I want to keep an eye on.
Okay.
It's a family horse.
I'm looking for one.
I think Matisse, I think that's how you say it.
Matisse,
Matisse. Yep. I think its run in the preview that was very good. And it'll take a lot of improvement.
Third in the preview over 1,000.
Never doubt Anthony and Sam getting them to improve second up. They send them to the races a little bit underdone and they let the run bring them on. So,
you're giving us some good tips today. Matisse at $11.
Yeah.
You came up with a $19.
Well, I've only got to get one of these because you're a long way ahead if you get one.
Well, one of them will get up. Let's go to the CF4 Stakes.
This is your
1,400 metres, Group 1. Mr. Brightside, $1.85 favourite. Buffalo River, we know, likes to lead. But Pride of Jenny is in the race. We saw what she did with those 2 front-running mile Group 1 wins at Flemington a week apart in the spring. But she's never won first up in 6 goes. So does she go to the front? Does she chop and change at Buffalo River? What happens?
I think look, Pride of Jenny's one of those horses. As soon as you put a line through, she wins. She wins.
Like we did when she said after she won the mares race, she wouldn't come back and beat them all in the main. Oh, no.
But
at the 200, that was another time I was sending you a text at the 200.
I think V8 is a little bit undervalued here. Okay, I know it wasn't the strongest field it beat last time, but has got some runs on the board in I think it was Group 3, Group 2 last start.
Yeah, the Australia Stakes at Moonee Valley.
Wouldn't surprise me. Good draw. Damien Lane's the most informed jockey in Melbourne at the moment. He can't miss Frosty. So
I'll tell you what I think about V8 when we get to it's time to unload.
Is that right? Okay. Well, I'm still taking Mr. Brightside.
Okay, $1.80 favourite, but you're worried about V8.
Yeah.
Good race, the
Very
CF4
good.
Stakes. There's the Rubiton Stakes as well. There's a few group races at Melbourne. There's the Carline Cup. It's Group 3 over a mile, and Young Werther and a few others are in there. The Legrand Stakes is 1,100 metre race, Group 3 for 3-year-old fillies.
I think I'll tell in time to unload, but I've got one in the Rubiton that I think is always underrated.
Okay. The Rubiton Asfura is the $2.30 favourite. So we'll save it up because you want to talk about that race in a sec. Have we got some stable mail last week? Last week, was that Rolling Magic? Was it Goulburn on Friday? Did it run second?
Got rolled.
Rolling Magic.
Got rolled. I thought it was an okay run. The leader got a bit far away and we got left a little flat-footed.
Have you got some stable mail this week?
I think I've got a horse that'll run well if we run at it. Oh, no, not really. Not this week.
There's no stable mail this week.
Well, I can give a couple of place getters at long odds.
I've got some stable mail for the Freedman stable for this week.
What's that?
I reckon you're going to pick up an amazingly precocious yearling, which will be an early running 2-year-old.
I agree.
That you'll be able to syndicate.
We'll set it up to the listeners. Come in. It'll be fun.
No, well, next Friday, we're going to go through, next week in the edition of The Good All, we're going to go through your purchases.
All right, and we'll talk about and
why you bought them.
We'll talk about a bit of pedigree.
The bidding.
Yeah.
Because one of the secrets of the sale is when you're inspecting horses, it's like playing poker.
Yeah.
You can't let the breeder know that you're keen.
Because what the breeders do is, we'll talk about this next week, but what the breeders do, the reserve, like a house, right? The reserve on a house is what you would not sell the house for. The breeders haven't quite taken that approach. Now they've taken the approach is, how much will one person buy it for? So I'll set the reserve at that to see if they buy it. The passing rate and then the jostling after the passing in. We'll talk about it next week. It's a bit of fun.
So we'll go through the purchases that you and your dad make, who you partnered with to buy them, and the process you went through. Because the thing about inspecting yearlings is sometimes you go, I want to go back and see that horse again. And if they see you come back, they go, that bloke's back again.
Yeah, Gerald Ryan's the best at it. He will look at a horse from afar, see he wants to buy it, and then they're like, I never knew you were on it. And he loves it.
So he'll watch you looking at a horse, but he'll be overlooking at something, and he'll watch it parade from 40 metres away.
Yeah. And then even better is the tactic on bidding. Like, are you a one-hitter quitter, or do you just bid? Some people, like, if they really want to annoy the breeder, will just bid to the reserve, even if they've been told what it is, and just say, yep, bid that, and there's no theatre to it. So breeders don't like that. They like a bit of momentum in the sale.
So if there's a reserve of
150, someone will go, yep, 150, first bid, and they go, oh. And then
they'll want the first bid to be 120.
And then build up, because sometimes if you're close and it stalls, you go one more, you get a bit excited. And a lot of people want to land on the reserve. So there's a bit of theatre around it. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll go through them next week. It's time to unload. Now, I got Lady Laguna last week, but my second pick, Road to Arataki, was beaten into a place. So I've got a little bit of confidence. I like V8 in the Orr Stakes. Yeah. I think V8... The Australia Stakes win was really good at Moonee Valley. You just mentioned this horse before. I think he's ready to go bang. He's a 3-year-old at $7 from that barrier. I'm all over him to beat Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, I'm going to, as I said, the Rubiton. I reckon Asfura is one of the most underrated horses in the stud book. I think it's borderline an Everest horse, Asfura, on its day. And I think at 230, barrier 6, I think if this horse was with Ciaron Maher, it would be close to odds on. But because it's Henry Dwyer and he's not as, he's still a very accomplished trainer, Group 1 winning trainer, but he's not the mega stable size that gets a bit more betting momentum with it. I reckon if you can get $2.30 plus on that horse, you jump in.
Okay, Asfura, it is $2.30 in the Rubiton Stakes. It's the favourite. I think we can get another winner at Caulfield as well. I think Young Werther over the mile, the Carline Cup. Hasn't won out of turn, Young Werther, but I think he can win that race. Good on you, Will. I can't wait to see what horses you buy at the Classic.
We'll get one.
You'll get more than one.
Hopefully.
I'm backing you in for about 4. Speak to you next week, mate.
See ya.